Hola amigos, hola, hola, hi, be welcome again to my third tour of the day. It's been a very long, active day here in Lima City. I felt like an Indiana Jones, a female version of Indiana Jones. And I hope you had a fun archaeological Saturday with us, with Elizabeth, my colleague in Arequipa, and myself here in Lima City. Thanks for coming early to this tour. I was here ready to start, so I decided to jump before the starting time here in the link to say hi to you all, to welcome you into this tour. And look what I have behind. Hola, Caroline. Thank you. Look at this beautiful place. This is the site we're going to be able to see and talk about during this tour. So thanks so much for coming, and remember that all your questions are very, very welcome. Feel free of commenting, of asking, of let's say of trying to understand more deeper the history of this place. I love to know your thoughts and your questions. Hola Paul, sí, tercera vez. Thank you. Thanks for being here, my friend. Gracias for your participation. Some of my friends here in this tour have been during the whole day with me visiting different archaeological sites in Lima. So this means a lot to me. Gracias, Paul. Thank you so much. And I hope you are learning something new from the Peruvian archaeology today with me. We actually are different guys in Peru in this moment, trying to show you the history of the country in a fun way, in an entertaining way. Different guys have different perspectives, and this is wonderful because you can get a lot of different opinions about the history of Peru. For example, we have in Arequipa Elizabeth, which she's doing these collaboration tours with me today. I hope she is not been having any problems during the day with her streamings, because she's going to far away destinations from the city. I hope you are having a fun time also with her. There's one more tour made by her during this archaeological day later after I finish this one, so I hope you can join her. Gracias, Paul. Thank you so much. Muchas gracias. And today we are going to continue with this archaeological adventure in a site that was occupied by the Incas. So we started today in a chronological order. Early in the morning, we learned about one of the oldest societies of Lima, of the central coast of Peru, the Lima culture. Then we learn about the Ishmael people in the temple of Huaca Mateo Salado. And now we're going to talk about a house, actually, a residence that was used by the Ishmaels and later on by the Incas. So, but I'm not starting. I will not talk about the history yet. We still have 3 more minutes to officially start the tour. So let me know if this is your first time with me here in Lima. If anyone is joining for the first time one of my tours in the city, I would love to know, and also to give you a proper welcome into the platform, into my tours. Oh, Caroline, gracias, thank you, thanks for coming. I hope you enjoyed this tour here, and if you were already in Peru before in person, I have to make justice also to your expectations about what to see in Peru. And if you haven't been here, I hope you fall in love of the history of Peru. Gracias, Caroline, thank you so much. And you're invited also to come to all my tours in Lima. I am based in the city of Lima. I am an official tour guide. So my tours are mainly about a focus in the archaeology, history, anthropology, and food, because we Peruvians love to eat. So solo hablo un poquito de español. Oh, no, gracias, Carly. Your Spanish is really well, actually. Better than my reading English. So, by the way, let me show you a little bit of what's around me, just to give you an idea of where I am. Look at this stone. Here we are on the side of a temple. Yes, that's right, Paul. Here Paul is commenting, Caroline, and all my friends that want to practice Spanish, that I have tours that are for practicing Spanish. So stay tuned to that, Caroline. And I do these tours at least once a month. So give a look to my Heygo channel. It is very easy to find. It's www.heygo.com/Vanessa with V and double S. And give a follow to my Practicando Español, practicing Spanish in Lima with Vanessa. So, and here we have the star of this tour. Hola, Tariq, Oli. Hola, Adam. Hello. Thanks for coming, my friends. Thank you. Today we are all feeling like archaeologists. We are all Indiana Jones, as I was saying, because we are digging in the history, in the oldest part of the history of Peru. Gracias, Paul, for my friends that are just joining my tours in Lima, Peru. You are all invited to click on the link my friend Paul has shared, and there you will see all my upcoming tours. Hola, Tariq. Big kiss to you and Oli, by the way. Gracias. Oh, a teddy bear hug. So here we are in one of the nicest locations in the city. We are high in Lima. And if you are new to these archaeological tours I am doing here in collaboration with Elizabeth, today we've been exploring different archaeological sites in our locations. We are pretty much coming to the end of this special Saturday selection we have for you, but no worries, because we are going to continue creating tours of this kind for you, not just about archaeology, about Afro-Peruvian history or Afro-South American history, about Asian Peruvian history, and many other themes that are really interesting. So, well, I think it's time to start this adventure, this third adventure I'm having today in Lima. And well, let me tell you a little bit about myself first. So, hi everyone, my name is Vanessa Vasquez. I am your Heygo Lima City Guide. It is always a pleasure to be your host in the city of Lima, to be the ambassador of the culture of Peru and the city of Lima before you all. So I really hope you enjoy this tour designed to show you one of the most interesting constructions we have in Lima. It's not the biggest, but it is very, very interesting because it's the only archaeological site that we know for sure it was a residence, not a temple. All of the archaeological sites you can see in Lima, you can see in Cusco, you will see in different parts of Peru. They were all temples, shrines, right? Let's say huacas, no? That's the way we call them. But this one in particular is very special because it was a residence. So we will see how the residences of the high status people, the highest status, let's say the leaders, used to be. I see on the map you've come a long way. Yes, Paul. Marek, which is my husband, he's also with me now. He's a really good driver. He's a macho driver. Many kilometers. I don't know how many kilometers we've driven today, Marek.
Totally, I don't know, but from Mateo Salado, the last place, until here, it was like 27.
Yeah, or less. We've been driving a long way, and we hope it worth all the drive today, and that you are enjoying everything. So, by the way, my friends, Mike is my husband.
Mike?
He's Mike. Sorry, no, Mike. No, Mike is my other husband. So he's in Cusco. No, Marek is my Lima husband. He is a tour guide. He's an archaeologist, and he loves to do tours with me. We are actually very in love with the history of Peru. Adrian is like, her mind has blown. So, and here we are going to have the chance of explore together an archaeological site, as I was saying. But before that, let me show you the map. So we go first to the map to see the many places we've seen today, how many sites we've seen today. So now let me go to the map and over here. Okay, so
the other side because the wind is going this direction.
Okay, Marek. So we've been in different places today in Lima. Hi, Adam. How hot is it now? It is very hot. It might be
28 maybe?
28, but the humidity is very high. Yes. We are in a very humid city, by the way. We are in a humid desert. Thanks for your question, Adam. So we are here in Lima City, and let me tell you which places we've seen today. Maybe you remember the first one early. We had a first tour in Lima, in San Isidro district, in the area very, very close to the olive grove. So we have here the Huaca Marca. Then we have here, my finger is moving a little bit. Thank you, Marek. So Huaca Marca. Then we've been in Huacapuquiana. So these were the two sites we saw earlier in the first tour. Then we went to, look at this other site, Huaca Mateo Salado. And from here, we've driven a lot. And actually, we've driven far away, let's say, in the direction, look at the picture over here, of the left side of the river Rimac. This is the most important river we have. And the picture you see over here is the one of the archaeological site we are going to see, the Puruchuco archaeological site. So Caroline says, it is -5 where I am. I would love to feel that coolness in this moment because it's so hot, Caroline. It's so hot. But I'm sending you warmth from Lima, sending you the sun of the city in this moment to brighten out a little bit your day. So yeah, we can trade. That would be lovely. In Lima, we never get snow, by the way. Lima City has a very mild climate, and this is also the reason why this ballet was so desired by so many pre-Hispanic communities that use this place consecutively, one after the other. So what you see in this moment, a very modern urban zone, was actually developed in the last 30 years. This is not a really old location. And you can see also that even next to the archaeological site, we have a soccer course. This is a private sports club that is, in theory, within the archaeological site. And this house we are going to see in a while is one of the many that used to be in this location. But this one was special because it was the house of the local leader. Along the river, Rimac River, which is not far away from us, is where the communities used to be located. Why do you think the communities were next to the river or along the river? I think some of you already have the answer in mind. Maybe you're taking a little while to write, but of course that you know that water is vital, right? Especially in a desert. Lima City is the second biggest city in the world built on a desert. So how many of you know already which one is the biggest city in the world built on a desert? If Lima is the second one, do you know which one is the biggest city in the world built on a desert? If you can, please comment. Muy bien, Paul, excelente. You are a very good student, my friend. So yes, Cairo is the biggest city in the world, built on a desert. Lima, the second one, with approximately 11 million people in the city. How come it's possible that a city of 11 million people live with no, let's say, source of, constant water, like melting water from nearby glaciers or rains? Well, my friends, we have learned to live depending on the river flow, on the water from the rivers. Our ancestors used to do it. They, of course, were not living in millions in the coast, but they were numerous. When the Spanish conquistadors came to the Peruvian territory, they estimated, and nowadays archaeologists, of course, believe that this was a good number, that there was actually about 400 temples in what nowadays is the city of Lima, for example. Right? So 400 temples. Imagine the number of people needed in a city like this one to have 400 temples and people, of course, living around those temples and serving those temples. Of course, not all of them were active temples when the Spaniards came, but they noticed that many of those sort of like slopes that they were seeing were not natural slopes, were possibly old temples. But the Spaniards, the conquistadors, they came with their extirpators of idolatries. They established this system of suppressing the beliefs of the indigenous to trade those beliefs for the faith they were bringing, the Catholic faith, which was the only one permitted at that time. So this is why the extirpation of idolatries also focused a lot in destroying temples. So we know, for example, that in the whole country of Peru, at the time of the arrival of the conquistadors, there were approximately 12 million people living. 12 million in the whole territory that nowadays we consider the country of Peru. What a big number of people. But nowadays in Peru we have 31 million people. So we have, of course, increased the population. Where do you think most of the population of Peru lives in this moment? In the coast, in the Andes, or in the jungle? Please comment here in the comment section. Feel free of commenting, by the way. I love to know your opinions and your questions, of course. So before I see the answer, and please you can continue writing, here let me tell you that we have some interesting evidences of the material used in the house that we are about to see. So we have here a wall that is very, very high. We're talking about a wall that is up to 5 meters, in subsections decreases to 3 meters, but is really tall, made of a material that at this point, for my friends that have been with me in my other two tours, is already familiar. Which material is this one you're seeing? This is not a stone. This is mud bricks. So you said, Tina, thanks for your question. You said 400 what were in Lima? 400 temples. Yes, Paul, thank you. There were 400 temples, is what the Spaniards estimated in their chronicles, because the Spaniards, they needed to write everything, because this information they were not writing this information for themselves. They were writing the information to send this information to Spain. Most of the information we know nowadays about the conquest period is in Spain. The biggest source of this information comes from the archives of the crown. So many Peruvian historians have to travel to Spain to be able to get an access to these documents. Nowadays, there are about 300 temples still standing in Lima, but not even half of those temples are officially protected, like investigated, like this one, for example. So the question that I made just briefly was, where do you think most of the concentration of the Peruvian population is? Highlands, coast, or the jungle? And the answer is, my friends, the coast. Yes. And why? The coast is an arid desert. Well, not exactly, but I will go now in a moment to explain why the coast has been also the zone of majority of concentration of population. In a moment, can you see the position of the wall, my friends? The position of the wall is inclined. It's not straight. It is inclined, right? So what is this technique of construction? Well, the technique of construction you are seeing here, and also you're going to keep seeing in other parts of Peru, is seismic construction, seismic proof construction. The inclination of some few degrees helps these constructions to be resistant to the earthquake. So the idea is that, for example, if Marek stands, straight, Marek, please stand very straight with your feet straight, exactly, and I try to push him, it would be very easy, sorry, to push him backwards. But if he is extended like this, with the leg open, and I try to push him, it's going to be more difficult because he has resistance. He has an angle of, let's say, for being stable. Exactly. Muchas gracias, Mari. So let's keep going. By the way, my friends, are you able to hear me well? Is it any noises like of the wind that are being uncomfortable? Just let me know, please. It would be lovely. Okay, gracias, Francesca. Gracias, Paul. Thank you. So, gracias, Tina. So now we're going to get into a section. Oh, fantastic, Sofia! Even better. Gracias, gracias. And we are in the hills, in the mountains. So basically, this is really special that you are having video and sound perfect. So gracias, Tina and Sofia. How is it seismic proof construction? Okay, Tina. First of all, let me tell you that Lima is a seismic city. We are in the Nazca Plague, located in the zone of the Nazca Plague, where there is an impact of an underground plague under the ocean that is pushing the plague of the continent, that is creating, actually, by the force of the pressure, the Andes. So this is why we have the Andes, by the way. The Andes keep growing, of course, millimeters every year, but still they are growing because there is a force under the ocean, under the Pacific, that is putting pressure and pushing the Andes and elevating them more. So these movements of the earthquakes, which are very common here, have also been the biggest problem for the constructions and the constructors also in the ancient times, because you can build things here, but the first earthquake that happens, everything would fall. I will go back to the explanation of the seismic proof constructions just in a little while, my friends, because I want to tell you what is this. So these little rooms you see here, and there are actually many more. You can see that they are more simple, more basic. There are actually several around. This is the evidence of a cemetery that used to be in this location right next to the house. The cemeteries were always very special locations, and usually the cemeteries were very close to the top of the hills, the mountains. In a way, for practical reasons, and also for religious reasons. The practical reason is because we have a river. We have a river over there, Rimac River, right? So we are in the left side of the Rimac River. So most of the times, the river, has enough water, like as always, right, for irrigating the valley. But sometimes we have abnormal rains, especially when we have El Niño phenomenon. Have you heard about El Niño phenomenon? This phenomenon, which happens and affects not just Peru, also Ecuador. It affects sometimes Chile also. It is an abnormal, let's say, heating up of the temperature of the ocean, of the Pacific. The Pacific here is very cold because we have the Humboldt current that comes from the south, from the Antarctica. So this current of water usually is of about 14 degrees Celsius, right? In Southern California, El Nino, yes, Pamela, of course, yeah, the El Nino goes. El Nino is a current of water that is warm, right? That is, let's say this is California, United States, Central America, Ecuador, Peru, Chile, right? So El Nino is a current of water that is usually in this section, in the tropical section, right? Warm water. We in Peru have the Humboldt current, and in the north you have the California current, right? Sorry for my finger, I just want to give you an idea of what I'm trying to picture in you. So you have the California current, we have the Humboldt current. So El Nino sometimes is when this warm current of water abnormally moves northern, southern, and it changes the temperature for all of us, because here we are used to cold water. We don't have rain because of that, but when we have warm water, the temperatures goes higher. The atmosphere heats up and we have rains. Imagine rains in a location where there's everything is made of mud. What a terrible thing, right? So look at this material. This is the mud. This is the wall, very, very high wall. And where are we? So we are getting in this moment in the porch section of the residence, and the information of the archaeologists, and due to the excavations in this area, it's been finally come to the conclusion, the archaeologists, that this was the zone where the cameloids, the South American cameloids, the llamas, alpacas that came with the travelers that came from possibly far distances, traders of product, were parked. This is the parking, the garage section. So this is the entrance, and this is the section where the llamas, the alpacas, and how we know this? A llama garage, exactly, Caroline, the llama garage. So how we know this? For the excrement of the llamas. So it's the archaeologists were able to recognize lots of these poop of the llama, so they realized that this was a section where they used to be. Why doesn't it wash away in rain? Tina, thanks for that question. So keep in mind that Lima is the second biggest city in the world built on a desert. So in Lima, we don't get rain because of the Humboldt current. We have a cold current of water that comes from the south, from the Antarctica, and that is really good to us. Don't think it's bad to Peru. Actually, it's very beneficial. This cold current of water brings fish, because we have lots of plankton. The Humboldt current is the richest current of water in the world, and Peru lives out of fishing, gold mining, metal mining, and fishing. So, but also the cold temperature of the water decreases the temperature in the atmosphere. We have something that is called inverted thermal condition. Something like that. You can look in the internet, which means that usually the temperature of the air, higher it is colder, and lower, closer to the earth, is higher. But in Peru, it's different. Lower is colder, higher is warmer. So this is why Lima has gray sky almost all year round. I hope it's making sense to you, my friends. It's really a curious case. And Lima is a humid desert. So here we have the plan of the house. This is Puruchuco. Let me also show you the name of the site over here if you would like to take a picture of the name. Puruchuco. And here also the names are in English and in Spanish. So, Marek, can you please tell us something about, for example, the size of this place?
Yes, the place is about 40 by 30 meters square, and it's divided here. They have 7 divisions, but more clear is divided in one public area, one domestic area, and one religious area.
So we have a public area, which is the zone 1, basically,
1
and 7. We have sort of like domestic area, which is the residence per se. And of course, the religion cannot be separated completely. So 3 and 4 are the zones of the rituals that happen internally in this house.
Very important, just one entrance and one exit to the place.
One entrance and one exit to the place is what Marek is saying. And this is really interesting. It's for control of influx of visitors. So now I think we are ready to go. Vamos. The place is called usually Palacio. Although it was not really a palace. There was no certainty that a king or a prince lived here. But we know that a person of high status lived here. So that's why we continue using the word palace. Tina is asking, is that one house or the whole complex? Tina, the section of Puruchuco that is open to the public, that is visitable, is one house. So that what you saw in the plan is all one house. And you're going to see it in a moment. But Puruchuco has, in its protected section, has many other houses. Unfortunately, those houses are not in good shape. So we cannot visit them. Actually, behind this hill, we have a shanty town, and there are lots of problems about the occupation, sometimes illicit occupation, that happens of the protected zones by people that, of course, are poor people. They have modest living. They don't have really opportunities to buy, to afford a house. And they are trying to squat, but in a zone that is protected. So now we are going to get in the house. And the first element that I'm showing you here is the ramp. Who can recognize the ramp? From which period do you think is the ramp? From the Inca or from the Ishmael? So who can tell me? Who can give me an answer? The ramps are Ishmael or are Inca? So, Tina, how can they allow people to live? Oh, yes, Tina, we are in Peru. Welcome to the jungle. We have our issues, Tina, in Peru since before actually the proper investigation of the sites happened, because the poverty and also the expansion of the city and the first shanty towns are way older than the proper beginning of the excavation and the put in value of the archaeological sites. The archaeological sites were put in value around the 1950s, the first one, the late 50s, 70s, 80s. These shanty towns are from the 20s, 30s, 40s, right? So, yeah, that's the problem. So, Ishmael is saying Paul, Francesca is Inca. Interesting. Gracias, Francesca. And the winner is Paul. And why? Well, if you were able to join my tours earlier today, we were talking in many occasions about the ramps, which were something local. And actually, the Lima culture used ramps, and the Ishmas in the temple we saw earlier, they use a ramp. But no worries, Francesca, if you were not in that other tour, we are going to tell you the differences between Inca and Ishma.
Yeah, very important. The ramps are from the coast, and the people from the Andes use stairs to access to the different constructions. Why the difference? First of all, here in the desert we don't have stones, so we make the ramps with mud. And the other and most important, that is that here never rains, and in the Andes rains. In the Andes, if you put a ramp, you cannot get into the place if it's raining.
Exactly. Also, this is just let's say a way of adaptation into the natural environment of this place. So, Tina, have they tried to evict the people? yes, but. Also, we were talking about this in the other tour earlier, the second one I did. about the people that are living in this moment in the archaeological site, like literally inside the archaeological site. They cannot be evicted abruptly because in a part, well, the government of Peru tends to be much more supportive of the poor people that are living in needs than the very archaeological sites. It's not that these places are not important, but also we have a more populistic government. So it would be not very good for the government having this type of issues. So they try to take these problems with silk gloves. I don't know if it makes sense. In Peru, we use that, guantes de seda, and that is because you have to be very careful, no, when you try to evict poor people from sites, right? You can be seen mean, right? So here, by the way, we have a plaza, and thanks for your questions, by the way, Tina, gracias. Thanks for all the interaction. Look at this plaza here. We are in the center of the receiver area. So we have a plaza that is very wide. If we were able, for example, to sing out loud, I'm not allowed to do strong noises, but the sound, it would be like an auditorium, like a very, very loud, right? So it would multiply the sound, right? So this was the section where the visitors came, the visitors that were the subjects of the leader that was here in control of this location, that let's say would receive the presents in the name of the let's say the deity he represents, because the leaders also represent the priest, the high priest. Right? Remember, politics and religion not separated. Oh, what a interesting thing, because nowadays in Peru it still is the same. So anyways, this was a plaza where the visitors came and also got in contact with the leader. The leader was up there. So the perspective you are having in this moment is of the visitor. Gracias, Tina. I'm so happy that you are getting every part of the explanation. Are there more buildings that haven't been excavated yet? Yes, of course, Francesca. Let me tell you, I think from here maybe we can see something. We are a little bit like distant from a group of temples that are in the top of the hill, but they are really, really bad condition, because actually this one was also in really bad state. And how we know that? Well, the edges, for example, can you see that they are perfect? Can you see that there's a perfect edge? This is reconstruction. Do you still remember, my friends, the difference between, I talk about this in my previous tours, reconstruction and restoration? Do you remember the difference? Give me a thumbs up if you remember hearing from me this, and if not, no worries, I will explain it again. So, reconstruction versus restoration. So, reconstruction was a trend among the archaeologists in the world. Actually, it happened in Egypt, it happened in Mexico, it happened also here in Peru. The reconstruction was recreating something that in your imagination seems it works good for the place. I mean, you have part of the wall, you have the other part of the wall. It's evident that there was a continuous wall, so you just make it, right? For example, here, look at this. So we have, this is original wall, this is original wall, right? So it's evident there was a hole, right? It's evident that this wall was like this. So what reconstruction does, you recreate the wall, okay? So this is reconstruction. What is restoration? Restoration is different. Nowadays, actually, the trend of archaeologists is to restore, not reconstruct. Because we think there was a wall, maybe, but what if there was a door? What if there was something much bigger? So what archaeologists do is they don't add this wall. They just leave things smooth in the way they used to be, and they don't add something if it's not extremely necessary, if it's not a part of the wall that is falling, right? So it's needed, that extra. So that is the difference between reconstruction and restoration. Nowadays, archaeologists don't reconstruct, they just restore. But in the 1950s, the time when this place was in a process of being rescued, the team of archaeologists is sponsored by Mr. Arturo Jimenez Borja, one of the most important personalities of Peru about, the world of the archaeology. He was not an archaeologist himself, but he was an enthusiastic for the archaeology. This man used his own money to reconstruct this place, because if he didn't, now we would see nothing, because this place was in such bad state that there were many people with their eyes on this site. So now we're going to get to see a little bit more. I think we can access through this section here, and we are going now to have the chance of exploring just briefly. If the internet goes, my friends, stay with me please, because remember, we are in an old site. Sometimes the internet goes down. So we're going here higher into a section that has something really interesting. Okay, my friends, how many of you have been in a tour with Mike in Cusco? How many of you have been able to see Machu Picchu? Raise your hand if you have been with Mike. Okay, hi Paul, hi Sophie. Okay, so do you remember the Incan doors? Like this style of doors, have you been able to see this before? Give me a thumbs up if you remember something. Okay, those doors were made of frames of stone. This is mud. So what is this showing? This is the doble jamba, or double, let's say, frame doors, which means that this was a very sacred place. Yes, Mike is going to be back soon, by the way, my friends, for those that were not able to see Cusco with Mike is going to be very soon back in the platform. This is a rainy season, so most likely not very proper for him to live stream with the climatic conditions, but oh my God, Cusco is amazing. So look at the view here. What kind of view the leader, the one who rested in that room, was able to see in the morning? Possibly something like this. Possibly we had an amazing view of the Andes, the river, the workers around. Can you see the ocean from here? Tina, the ocean is very distant. But also, in that time, there were no high buildings between, the view and the ocean. But we have hills in that direction. We still have lots of hills around. So most likely, we are not able to see in a straight line the ocean.
From here, we are like 30 kilometers to the ocean, or 20 miles. So it's far away.
Exactly.
We are in the foothills of the Andes at this moment.
Exactly. Most likely for them, and remember that the people who were living at the end, before the coming of the conquistadors, were Incas, and the Incas were mainly worshippers of the sun and worshippers of the mountains, because they were originally people from the Andes, right? So we have also another view of the patio. Look at the narrow entrance we have here. Right? And we don't know if the patio was an open patio, honestly, or not. But during the 50s, the team of archaeologists that was, sponsored by Mr. Arturo Jimenez Borja and himself, they determined that possibly the height of the walls around was this one, like about a meter and a half, more or less. So we will now continue. So this is the section that we call the residential part, right? So we have a ceremonial section where the visitors, look at how narrow it is. Oh, very, very narrow. And we are going to see from the other side again before we leave. So Tina is commenting. Elizabeth was trying to explain the tall, skinny doors on her tour. What is your explanation? Well, it is very interesting, actually. For me, what I've heard also from archaeologists is that these skinny, let's say, holes are very good for seismic purposes, for preventing of damage in the construction. And Marek, also, would you like to say something about that, or you agree with me?
I'm agree with you.
Oh, if the archaeologists agree with me, that's good, right? So we have here, yes, Caroline, well, it's the same purpose of what I was explaining with Marek with his open legs. Do you remember, like, for stabilization, right? This is the terrace. If you want to make a picture also of this one, this is in English as well. Okay, let's keep going. And here, an element that is Incan. So I'm going to show you first the architecture, and later I'm going to come to the conclusions about who made this place and why we have elements that are mixed. 3 steps. So, what are the 3 steps? What is the symbolism of the 3 steps? Who can tell me, my friends? Anyone has been able to hear from me or from Mike before or from Elizabeth before? So, Marek, go here because I want to show them this part here. The 3 steps. Okay. So the 3 steps symbolizing the 3 worlds, upper world, this world, and the lower world, the world of the dead. This corridor has a very low internet, so we're going fast, okay? And there's even echo here. So we are going to continue. And stay with me if there is a drop of the internet. What an interesting also corridor, very narrow. Why the narrow corridor? Maybe you are wondering, why along a narrow corridor? Well, the explanations of the archaeologists that have been working in this project, they mention that narrow corridors are good as a way of protection, a way of, let's say, control of the influx of people, and also control if there is any, for example, intentions of take to see the images. I know the internet is going a little bit down, but this allocation of good internet spot. So, are you still there, my friends? So, look at this. We have, okay, Francesca, gracias. Gracias, Adrian. We have something really curious here. These niches with triangular shape. And also, Marek, I think you have something to say about these niches,
Yes,
right?
here we have the mix of 2 different traditions. First of all, we access to this part that is upper through a ramp, no, the Ishmael style. And here we have niches. The niches are typical from Inca architecture. So this part is the religious part, and it's mixed 2 different styles. In those niches, there are 2 theories about them. One of them is that they were there to put offerings, no, in the ceremonies, because this is the religious part. And the other one is related with the movements of the sun. So in some important dates like solstice or equinoxes, the sun arises in a different niche. No?
So these were markers of the location of the sun, actually. And I remember I'm seeing also that my boys dropped in the explanation about the corridor. No worries. Thanks actually for asking me to repeat it. The narrow corridors, like the one we saw just a while ago, the explanation of the archaeologist says that because this section of the house was way more important, possibly because of the religious, the ritualistic part of this house, this is the entrance of that ritualistic part. It was necessary to make it narrow, so in that way they could control the influx of the people into this section. And also, Marek wants to say something.
I'll show you something, because to enter to this place, to this part, there are 2 entrances. This is one of them, the access through the ramp, and the other one is here. Please follow me.
Exactly. By the way, notice that this was a very important section of the ritualistic part. And before I go to Marek, I want just to tell you something I remember from my readings. I read some books about this site. And what is curious is that in the other side, at the entrance, the most important section is elevated, right? Well, so we are like visitors and we are below and the important person is above. But here is the opposite. We are the visitors, we are higher. And the important ceremony happens here, lower, right? So why is this? Remember that here in the pre-Hispanic world, there were lots of like opposed, that complement each other, right? So the female, the male. So this is still in studies, but this section here, possibly inside, is where the shaman was hidden. Here is where he dressed, where he prepared before coming out to the ceremonies. Right? So look at this. Really many secret corridors, right? So I was able to answer the question. Were you able to hear me about the corridors, the explanation, my friends? So, Marek, yes.
This is the second entrance. So in that way, when you enter to the religious part, you need to show respect. In that way.
Exactly. This element over here is not Inca. This is Ishma. So look at the fusion of Incan elements and Ishma elements. These two styles coexisting in the same house. So this part here, and let me also try to put this in context. So let's say we are getting into the next section, the next room. So we cannot just walk straight like this, right? We have to, a way of showing respect, make a bow and get in, right? So this is a way to prove your respect also and to force everybody to be respectful to the zones where they were getting in. Mm-hmm.
This part is the storage. Mm-hmm. Storage of food.
The food storage.
And this is here, in this part, the excavation shows thousands of corns.
Exactly.
This was the storage.
So we are now going in this direction. Probably you were not able to hear what Marek was saying because he was a little distant. But what he is saying is that, let's go 3 steps up here. This was the storage section of the house, right? So look at this section here. We have another big storage. So the storage you see here, we know for sure it wasn't a storage. It was not a dungeon, nothing like that, because there were, let's say, elements like leftovers of corn, husks of corn, so corn kernels, right? So it means that there was a big accumulation of corn. Possibly at some point they dehydrated potatoes and corn here. They use this mortar to make a powder of this, a flour of this, or other things like, for example, the chili. And they accumulated these crops in this section. So this is the área de depósitos or the storage section. And if you wish, you can take a picture of this sign. It's also in English, and you can practice your Spanish. And just briefly, and we are also in the last part of this tour in the house, but it's going to be really interesting to show you the very last section. So, but before, just 1 minute, let me show you the refrigerator of the end of products, very cold. The internet is going down here, but just to give you an idea, this is a very fresh section because the air is above, so it is very fresh to keep products for longer. It definitely drops down the temperature 10 degrees here, especially at nighttime, 10 degrees in comparison to the external section. Okay, so I'm going back to the internet. Did they need to keep it cold? Yes, Francesca, that's why they had this sort of like refrigerator system. Next. So we're going again to incline our head. And woohoo. And we will continue. Oh, I'm so happy you are having an interesting experience, Francesca, and all of you, my friends. Could you explain again about the narrow door frames, please? Yes, of course, Paul. The narrow doorways, which are not just here, also in other rooms. We have several passages in this direction, for example. The narrow doorways and passages also obey anti-seismic concepts. So the idea of making narrow, for example, the entrances, gives them more stability.
Then less empty space you have in your wall is more stable.
Exactly. So that's the principle the pre-Hispanic societies follow, not just in the coast. It is also applicable to the Andes, so it means to the stone work. Thank you, Paul. Gracias. Can you show that sign? Oh, which sign, Tina? Maybe the one behind me. Sorry. Yes, of course. I hope I'm not moving too fast the camera. So this is the ceremonial section. Okay. 3, 2, and 1. Ready? So, but why the windows are triangular and not round? Yes, Roxana, remember that this zone is not a place practical. This is not a practical zone. This is a ritualistic zone. In the tree, the number 3 is related or is associated with the 3 worlds. The upper world, this world, and the underworld. It is a part of the pre-Hispanic, let's say, concept of life, the renewal of the life also. And the 3 worlds coexisted always, no? Because we coexist with the world of the dead, although we don't see the dead interacting all the time with them, but we have the shamans that are the ones that interact with them for us. And we have the upper world, which is the world of the sun, the moon, the lightning. So we see that world too, although we are not interacting with each god every time.
Yeah, and it's also the representation of the mountains that are surrounding us.
Exactly, the mountains, the Pachamama, the Mother Earth, and eventually that triangular shape turned into the Virgin Mary. Maybe you remember the Virgin Mary has this triangular shape, right? Usually in the colonial paintings. So, like 3 stairs. Yes, exactly, Roxana, is the same idea. It can be all applicable. And Marika and I, we are thinking in doing a tour from home, explaining a little bit of the symbolisms of the pre-Hispanic times, and also trying to decode some of the symbols in vessels, in fabrics. So that would be really fun to share with you. So we are getting now into a section that is also private again. Oh, gracias, Paul. And that's going to be very fun tomorrow to have you in my Ask Me Anything About Peru from Home. It's going to be my first one of this kind, so I am nervous. I'm a little bit nervous, but I hope you enjoy it too. Did they find offerings in these triangle alcoves? Tina, those were possibly like places to put idols. But there were no offerings found when the archaeologists came.
Yeah, when the archaeologists came, that wall was exposed. That means that if something lays there, so of course the looter take long time ago.
Yeah, the objects that were more exposed were definitely taken by looters, or were destroyed during the cleanse of these places during the period of the extirpation of idolatries that started very strong around the 1570s and continue until the beginning of the 17th century. This section is curious too, because we had guinea pigs in this part. So how we know we had guinea pigs? Who can tell me? How do you think archaeologists believe there were guinea pigs in this part? Do you remember about the guinea pig crash? Yes. Carolyn. Do you remember how the archaeologists discovered there was, yes, exactly, Jess, poop, right? Yes, that's right. It's easy. Well, when you have the correct, let's say, technology, you can determine that. So we had here the guinea pigs. And also, we have here this section where we have the another round entrance to another section private where the Ishmas used to possibly save important elements. So I want to see some guinea people. They are really cute little balls. So here we are in this final part of this tour to this house. I hope the internet is strong enough for saying bye to you all, and thank you so much for your participation. Before we finish, it would be lovely to give you the final commentaries about this experience and this site. So first of all, Huaca, or the archaeological site Puruchuco, was built initially by the Ishmas. Okay, do you remember the Ishma people? The Ishma people had the power, the control of this territory of Lima between the 1100s until actually the coming of the Spaniards. So it means that the Ishmas were always here. Until the coming of the Spanish conquistadors. But the Incas were here too. So the Incas took the city around the year 1470, and they appeared here and they conquered this territory, but they didn't behave the local government. They permitted the local rulers to stay in power as long as they were submitted to the Incas. So they were subjects of the Incas. So there was the different levels. Of course, the Incas were always more important. And sometimes the Incas took certain sites and they determined also to put in certain locations Incan leaders that will supervise the crops, because now the Ishmas had to tribute to the Incas with crops. There was no currency in that time. The currency came with the Spanish, with the conquistadors. So, well, basically, this zone passed from being Ishma to being Inca. There was an Inca man, Inca leader, in this place, who took this house and also adapted this house now to the Incan religion, the Incan traditions. Isn't this amazing? So we have here the fusion, architectural fusion of two different beliefs, different traditions, and it's tangible. It's here. We can see this one over the other. So isn't this amazing? And seeing a house within, like, it's unique, because all the residents were destroyed or were completely changed after the coming of the conquest, because the residents were, of course, of constant use, right? So you continue using them, right? And if they have elements that are not okay with the Spanish, with the religion, well, you erase them, right? Because you don't want to have a problem with the Spaniards. So this is why the houses evolved and changed. But this is a house that was trapped in time. So what time frame was this site built? Tina. So it was probably built with the Ishma people. So we're talking about Ishma. It started about the year 1100 and continue until the arrival of the conquistadors, 1535. So the site must have been built around probably the 1300s, and it continued in use until the time of the arrival of the Spaniards. But it had elements from the Ishma and elements of the Incas that came in 1470 and took this place. So I hope it was clear for you, my friends, that you had a fun time today learning about the different techniques, different styles, different architecture in the coast of Peru. And here, well, at least, sorry that I look like a mess, but I just want to give you my face. So to say bye to you all. And thank you so much for your participation in these 3 tours of mine. There's one more that is coming soon, made by my colleague Elizabeth. She's going to do one in Arequipa, also visiting a community and learning, showing you about the different fabrics and the tradition that still is alive there. So thank you, Caroline. Thank you so much for your tip support. It really means a lot to me. You have made my day. Thank you also to Marek that is
Thank
here.
you very much, my friends.
That he's been with me during the day. And I hope you enjoy it. Join my tours tomorrow. I have 2 tours from home with Marek, and we're going to be talking about, the first one is Ask Me Anything About Peru, so prepare your questions for tomorrow. And the second one is about Nazca, and in both cases we're going to be from home. So we're going to be sharing with you images, and well, Nazca is such a mystery, so we are going to be having so much fun sharing with you that. So if you can, please follow Elizabeth. Paul, gracias. Here you have the link if you would like to join tomorrow. Bring a beer, a pisco sour, like anything you have. Just relax with us. We're going to have a lot of fun. So take care, my friends. Love to have you here in Lima always. Have a very, very blessed weekend. And we're sending you lots of love from Lima. Best to you.
Bye-bye.
Gracias. Ciao, ciao. Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you so much. Gracias. Gracias, Adam. See you later.